And he made it sound like Diaz is probably going to get back this week. Just what kind of dynamic does he have doing offense? What he thinks he can do if he is back out there?
Yeah, just you feel his speed right back, right away when he's back out on the practice field today. He can run all the routes. He's a crisp route runner, and like we had talked about before, where he was building to a certain point where he was having a greater understanding after missing some time during training camp. Having a better understanding of the offense, having a better understanding of beyond just a piece of paper in the meeting room and getting out on the field. And the great thing is, he'll be able to pick up right where he left off.
Bob might be frozen there.
Oh, he's coming back here. Bob, yeah.
Bob.
Sorry, I was stuck there.
You're all good.
My thing froze up. Hey, I know it's only been 3 games, but obviously it's pretty stark how you guys have been scoring like crazy in the first half, but not as much in the second. Have you been able to put your finger on any reasons for any of that?
Yeah, I think there's a few different things, and we know we have to do a better job in the second half, and it comes down to execution. We've had some good opportunities, and whether it's been a little miscue here or there, it's just gotten us off of our rhythm. And so we need to keep doing a good job. We know our main goal on offense is to keep that efficiency, and our next step that we have to take is being efficient through all 4 quarters.
And I guess the other obvious question with that is just whether you feel like opponents, are they doing anything differently to you by half at all, or do you just feel like it's more of stuff you guys aren't doing as well? Or?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, it comes back to us. I think we need to work to keep executing better, and really with that consistency that we've been able to show in the first half of games that has faltered a little bit in the second half. So really more the focus is on us, and knowing that there is things that will go against, and like we've talked about in the past, everyone's good in this league. So just being able to sustain our mental focus and our sharp execution through all 4 quarters will be a pivotal thing for us as an offense.
Masvita?
Hey, Shane, a couple guys been injured on the offensive line. Does that kind of hinder the continuity in terms of the execution there?
Just from a continuity standpoint, it is nice to have that continuity, especially up front with those guys that are communicating, and there's such a tight-knit group. But I think the great thing about Jamarco and the different guys that have had to play some, whether it's during training camp, during the preseason, these guys have had a chance to interact and work with each other, and they're with each other every single day. So I think they've done a nice job of seamlessly entering in the game. And when all our guys are healthy, when B-Shell's getting back there and he's doing everything he can, and some of these guys, Cedric, that have been out, they come back into the mix. It just only helps us with our depth and guys, and it's a long season. We know we'll need everybody. So I think the guys have had to step up. Coach Larry's done an excellent job of keeping them up to speed, and so when they do go in, or even when it's throughout practices like we have today, where guys are still in that mode of rotating in and working with each other, so you're not just working with one group all the time, so you're ready for any of the different circumstances that can play out throughout the course of a game.
And then just playing a team like the 49ers, how important is it just to be patient in your game plan? Because they've got some playmakers on that side of the ball.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, it starts with Fred Warner. He's one of the best in the game, just playing sideline to sideline. He's nice and patient. Reads everything so quickly, and he's good against the run, good against the pass. And then obviously with Bosa and Armstead on the edges there, just being aware of who their players are, what they're able to do there, especially with Tartan Ward with their flexibility at the safety position. So they can do a lot of things. They have a lot of explosive playmakers on the defensive side of the football. So making sure that we're being smart with our decisions, making sure that we're attacking the spots that we feel like are favorable to us, and then having that good patience throughout the course of the game.
Brady?
Hi, Shane. With the short and intermediate part of your passing game, and we heard about the increased emphasis on that, how do you feel like that part of your offense is functioning right now?
I think, like everything, I think as our offense as a whole is still working to get to the level where we want it to be at. I know DK had a great one early in the game, 2 of them early in the game on some play action, some movement that created some good 19 and a 12-yard play for us. So we're keeping to work on all 3 levels. We've talked about it before, where that balance in our offense, we don't want to live in one world of extremes. So we're trying to keep that balance, and whether it's in the pass game, the run game, we need to keep working on improving in our screen game. But just having that balance on offense as a whole, and that's talking about all 3 levels in the pass game as well, and marrying that with the runs and in all different down and distances and situations.
And going back to earlier in the offseason, after you were hired, what was the familiarization or bonding process like with you and Russ? What did you guys do even before you got on the field or in the classroom together?
Yeah, sorry, it's a little loud. At the end of it, I just couldn't quite hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, the last part of the question was, well, what did you guys do just before you guys got here for OTAs? Or I don't know if you're allowed to.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I got the rest. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
did you guys do just to bond before you actually got started?
Yeah, just being able to talk on the phone, whether it was on the phone or on FaceTime, getting familiar with each other, and then once those OTAs and those Zoom meetings happen, which happened pretty fast right there, we just spent a ton of time, just getting to know each other and talking ball, talking our offense, a lot of things of what I was installing and a lot of things of what he's had in his past, things that he's familiar with. So just throughout the course of those months, you accumulate a lot of time together, even on Zoom, just like we're doing right now. You kind of learn pretty quickly that he doesn't have to be in person as the times have changed, and we've learned how to adapt and be great, whether it's through Zoom or through FaceTime, being able to communicate. And that was able, I think, to be a major step, even though we weren't in person, to be able to get to know each other, be able to get a feel for what things were going to be like. And then when the time came where those guys showed up during the OTA segment of practices, and we were just able to really roll as if we had been in person the whole time.
John Boyle.
Yeah, Shane, you just mentioned the guys the Niners have up front in the pass rush. Duane Brown obviously is going to be a big part of trying to stop that. He didn't practice much during camp. He's 36 years old, and then he comes out and looks like he always has. Just how impressive you've been with him so far this season?
I mean, he's so impressive, just what he's able to do. And, again, it's not a surprise when you're, a couple of these guys I've seen from afar now, being around them every day and seeing their daily approach. Duane's right there at the top of the ladder with that stuff. You see him even in the times during training camp where he wasn't on the field every single day practicing. His work ethic in the weight room, and his work ethic in the meetings and the walkthroughs. Everything was top notch. So again, he's a guy that was able to seamlessly, without a ton of reps on the field, come out there and play at an extremely high level over the last few weeks. And he's accumulated so many reps of football through the course of his life that so much of it for him right now is the mental side, making sure he's staying sharp there, and then the physical side just takes over with his natural ability and how hard he's worked at it and just accumulated that foundation over the course of his career.
Condota.
Yeah, Shane, if you don't have Gerald Everett this week, how big of an impact is that? I guess what else do you have to do at tight end there to kind of make up for that in case he can't go?
Yeah, I think, similar to the offensive line room where they've had to have some rotations when guys have been out, it's that next man up mentality if Gerald's unable to go. And Pat McPherson's done a great job of having those guys up and ready to roll. You get a chance to get Colby back out on the practice field, so we'll see where he ends up at the end of the week. And then Tyler Mabry's done just a tremendous job of being a backup player to both spots there that he can seamlessly go in the game. And then obviously Will Dissly has been playing at a high level throughout the year, and so he's able to do it. So if Gerald's unable to go, we have a room full of guys that, including Jace and Ryan that we were able to get on board this week on our practice squad that have been all working well together and all guys that we have extreme confidence in that can go into the game and execute at a high level.
All right. Thank you. Anything else, guys? Thank you.
All right. Thank you.